Good evening and welcome to Real Talk, where we have real conversation about business, entertainment, and lifestyle. I am your host, Angelita, the coach. Welcome to another Tuesday episode of Real Talk podcast. This is episode 27 and it is titled Leaders Are Made, Not Born. I am joined today with Otiti Uwagbai Wright, owner of Endure the Extreme, creator and producer of the Leaders Conference. So we have so much to talk about. I'm so excited to have her on the podcast, just because her personality is just amazing and dope. So let me bring her on. Good evening, TT. I call her TT. So throughout the podcast episode, you guys will hear me refer to her as TT. Good evening. How are you?
I am well. How are you?
I am so good. You know, I'm excited to have you on the podcast. Okay.
Well, I'm excited to be here. I think this is so dope. I'm excited to be here.
So the amazing thing is, since we are still in a pandemic, I have to say that, and I have to keep reminding people that we are still in a pandemic. Okay, so we need to act as such. I know it's hard because, for us here in Michigan, we only get summer like 3 months out of the year. But with the pandemic, I always say find the positive out of the negative. My podcast was recorded at a podcast studio prior to the pandemic. So now I record at home and do all of that. But to me, it's a plus because I'm able to have people on the podcast, such as yourself, because you live in South Carolina and I live in Michigan, so, it's cool because I can have people from all over on the podcast. So I think that's dope. So I want to say, yeah, TT is my first guest not in the state of Michigan. So I'm excited about that.
I'm special.
So like I said, TT is the creator and a producer of the Leaders Conference. And we're going to talk about the Leaders Conference extensive because it was just so many lessons, I think learning points and lessons that were learned from this conference back in March. But before we get into that, who is TT? Who is Otiti Uwagbai Wright? Did I say it? I like saying it.
You did it very good. It rolled right off. You did it right, correctly. I'm just, number one, I always would introduce myself as just a small town girl. And I was told last year not to add the word just. So I am Otiti, born and raised in Georgetown, South Carolina. I am the oldest of three. My father's from West Africa, so that's where that name comes from. My mother's from South Carolina. I am very much so country, so you will hear that dialect roll differently throughout this podcast. And also I have some of my dad's accent. So sometimes people ask me to repeat myself, and I'm just recently also learning that it's okay to repeat myself. But I'm a young woman with a vision, and that's who I am.
Yes. So I have to tell everybody, TT is a Virgo, y'all. So y'all know that just makes me so proud. Okay, she is a Virgo. And if you are a Virgo, then you understand, because I have to say that I've talked to T. I met TT one time in person, and that was at the Leaders Conference. And the very first night that I was in South Carolina, it was a Thursday night, and it was the VIP portion. The VIP portion of the Leaders Conference took place that night. Mm-hmm. So I met up with the speakers that were presenting there, and just everybody that had came in for the leaders conference, we met up for dinner that night. And so I have to say that because if you are a Virgo, then you definitely know what I'm getting ready to say. I asked a question. I asked TT a question. And at the table with, I don't know, it probably was like what, 12, maybe like 12 speakers around the table.
14 of us at the table.
Yeah, it was a lot of us around the table. And TT was at the head at one end, and I was at the other end. And I asked her a question, y'all. She looked at me and gave me a look. I looked back at her and gave her a look. If you are a Virgo, you know that her and I had a whole entire conversation with just eyes. Okay? If you are a Virgo, you know this. And from that point on, for me, when we had that conversation, I was like, oh, this is my sister from a whole nother family, because we had a whole conversation, y'all, without speaking to each other. And I just thought that was amazing.
Yeah, that's so true. And you know, that's the power of divine connection. That's the power of divine connection. Yeah.
Definitely. So just turning up my volume a little bit. So from that point on, I was like, okay, I know I'm a liker. So I want to read, I want to give everybody, I know I introduced you, but I want to give them a little bit more so they know just how dope you are, okay? So Otiti Uwagbai Wright is a graduate of Denmark Technical College and South Carolina State University. Both majors centered around biological science and chemistry. Presently, she works at a nonprofit organization while building both for-profit, her own for-profit, as well as nonprofit business. She has written and self-published her first fiction novel, Southern Tears of Karma, and is working diligently towards the sequel. In addition, she makes homemade soy candles that promote meditation and self-care. Otiti has spent years encouraging and motivating her audience to move in purpose while embracing their truth. She endured so much over the years, which led to depression and 2 deep vein thrombosis, those are blood clots, in her lungs. Both diagnoses caused by unhealthy and negative lifestyle with a hint of low self-awareness. After healing and growth, Endure the Extreme was born, a forum to help individuals move out of their comfort zone, acknowledge their truth, and begin internal healing despite what they've endured. So I just want to stop right there because like that is so, that's amazing. Reading your bio, I was like, wow, I didn't know that. And it's amazing how we as people can go through things and then we grow from that, but then we also use that to help other people. So tell me a little, tell everybody what Endure, hold on, let me make sure I'm saying it right. Endure the Extreme is about. Tell us what that business is about.
Well, Endure the Extreme is where the Leaders Conference was birthed from. And I started off initially with the passion just to encourage and motivate people. And I know that sounds really broad, but you know, I was just coming in to the entrepreneurial world. I didn't have a clue on where to get started, but I knew that I wanted to be the person that could uplift other people because some people didn't have what I had. Or what I have, you know, being that I was going through depression on antidepressants, you know, I had my husband there, but I also had my mom there because she was the #1 person on that team because #1, she's a woman. So she understood it. You know, other people was like, pray about it, you'll be all right. And those things are great, but those things don't actually help the person that's enduring at that time. So as I just started with something simple by posting on social media. And then I said that I didn't want, it always felt like I was enduring the extreme. So when I changed it, that's where the name came from, because I was going through so much and I was enduring the extreme. So Endure the Extreme is an LLC. I went ahead and made it a business. However, I don't use that name as much. I really pretty much use my name now because I'm the face of my brand. But that altogether was something to help motivate people. And a lot of people don't like some of those posts in the past because people tend not to want other people to know that they're going through. Because when you're going through, a lot of times it's a form, we feel that it's a form of weakness. But going through sometimes is just preparing you for your next stage. So that one person that went to college 5 years after she graduated wanted to go to school to be a forensic pathologist. That's why I have all of the science degrees. I did not know that I was going to be positioned to having my own conference or hosting my own conference, writing books. This wasn't nothing that I initially said that I wanted to do. I initially said I wanted to be a forensic pathologist and also have my own nursing home. Those were the two things that I went to school for. So this was something totally different because I got knocked off track with life. And I didn't think that initially I was going through depression. But when I came home that day and I was on the phone with my mom, I said, everything seems dull. And my mom was like, what are you talking about? And I said, everything, all of the colors, I can't see color. I said, the sky seems dull. My clothes seem dull. My skin seems dull. Everything appeared to be dull. And that was, again, right before I had my emergency hysterectomy. They told me I may go into depression or be off balance, but I was like, not me. I'm strong. I'm one of the strongest people you know or will ever meet. But I crashed and I hit hard. And again, that's where Endure the Extreme came from.
I want to go back and I want to touch on the depression piece. I have to say that we as Black women, Black men in the Black community, it's something that I think is frowned on upon us. I don't think that, again, we're told, oh, just pray about it, you'll be okay. Everything will be, and keep moving forward. And no, that's not how that goes. I remember, I've said this before. I remember being younger, and I remember hearing things. Well, this person took their life, and that person took their life, or whatever the case may be. And I would always say, "What a coward! Why are you that?" To me, that was selfish. Like, you took the easy way out. By committing suicide. Now, here's the thing. Let's fast forward some years later to where I myself experienced depression. Trust me, people don't just wake up one day and say, you know what, today I'm going to kill myself. It does not. That's not how it goes. People don't wake up one day and say, hey, I want to be depressed. It is a mental it's a mental disorder. It's a mental, it's mental. But so with that, with everything that went on, you said that you used your business was that kind of like your out, or did it help you transition out of depression, or, what I'm saying? Like, how did it come into play?
Well, first and foremost, I did go to my doctor. I just felt like I was losing it mentally. I was having a lot of trouble sleeping. So when I went to my doctor, I was prescribed an antidepressant called Vibrate. First, they had me on Prozac, and that just didn't work with my body. And then they changed me to a newer drug that was out around that time, roughly about 2013, 2014, and it was Vibrate. And one thing about that antidepressant is told that it gives you a lot of energy. It surpasses your appetite. So I lost a lot of weight during that time, and I was always moving. So in order to keep myself still, I started writing the book, Southern Tears of Karma. So Southern Tears of Karma, it just was something for me to do. Again, I was home during that time also because I had that emergency hysterectomy, and that, it, not to be too graphic, but it took a little longer for me to heal. So I was home for that 12 weeks. I had to do something. And one of the things I'll never forget, I was in the guest room because I couldn't go upstairs to the master bedroom. And my mom came in there and she says, "You're not going to sleep all day." So in my head, I'm like, I'm 30 something years old. But she was like, "You're not going to sleep all day. You have to do something to keep your mind going." And so I started with the book. And once I started with the book, it transitioned into motivational messages on social media. And honestly, I thought I was the first person that was doing it because I went and got my little $20, and I do mean little $20 website on Vistaprint. And, I started a whole platform with it. And I still have that same $20 website today. And again, I started this in 2013. And it's been something I keep myself going. And that's even now today, I'm not going through depression. I've gone back several times where my mind, I call it the dark place. And sometimes when I'm in the dark place, it causes emotional eating, but I'm still going, but internally, I'm not my best self. So that's where the headaches come in at, the chest pain. So I always try to keep myself above water. So I'm always doing something. I'm always creating. Even when I'm asleep or about to go to sleep at night, I'm like, how can I do this? How can I do that? Now I feel in 2020, a lot of people are saying throw 2020 away. I'm loving 2020 for me because it has opened my eyes up to put all of the puzzles together. Now I understand why I went through X, Y, and Z in 2013. Now I understand why I went through X, Y, and Z in 2015, because now all of the puzzle is finally fitting together.
Exactly. And I think because, yeah, I have to say, you hear a lot of 2020 is over with, it's a wrap, it's a done deal. You know what? I have done some of my best creating this year. Okay. Because I've had nothing, I'm not going to say nothing but time, but you have to understand so let me ask you this. Before this pandemic, I feel, and you may can agree, I was always on the go, always on the go, always on the go. Never had time to really sit down and focus and think about things. Now, being that we are in a pandemic now, I have nothing but well, I'm not gonna say I have nothing but time because that's a lie. I'm just gonna say the time that I was spending going to places that are now closed because of the pandemic. I use that time to focus. I use that time to focus on my business. I use that time to add things. So I have to agree with you. 2020 has allowed me to kind of just reflect, redo some things, And if it's not working, then it's allowed me to just say, you know what, let me just, scrap that all together, and one of the things that I've noticed with being in this, everybody's like, oh, we're in quarantine or we're in this. I'm just in some dope solitude, getting to know myself, and I'm actually enjoying it. I'm enjoying it.
I am. I think this has been a real eye opener for me because when I came into 2020, I had so much planned. Like I knew I had my conference, and a month later I was going to be in Las Vegas, and a month later I was going to be in California, and the week after that I was going to be in Texas. So I had so much that I was going to do. And for a moment, right before the pandemic, I was thinking to myself, I got so much coming up and I'm going to be out of my baby's life, and I have a 10-year-old one. He's a 10-year-old. He just turned 10. And in my mind, I was like, that's a lot of time to be spending away from him, and so when everything came about, I was not upset. A lot of people was like, I had to cancel this, I had to cancel that. I was like, okay, this is what God has us doing right now.
Mhm.
Not to be on my soapbox, but this is what he has us doing right now. And so I think that that was confirmation that for other people, I don't know, but for
Right.
me, it was like it's time for you to slow down, and rethink what you're trying to do, reposition yourself both
Mhm.
mentally and physically. Because I've been running nonstop. Last year, I mean, I ran all of last year, and this is the most I've
Mhm.
had been able to sit still. And it's been great for my household. It's
Right.
been great, most importantly, for my mental psyche, because I
Right.
don't have all of those stressors of worrying about this, having to be there, even down to your outfit when you're going to speak on different platforms. It's just been soothing. And I'm an introvert also, so it doesn't bother me to be
Yes.
home.
Yes, yes, I love it. I love it. And Virgos, we kind of live in our mind. We can
Mhm.
be sitting there and you think we're not doing anything. You think we're sitting there watching TV. Mm-mm. We got 25 different things going on in our head, and we're putting puzzles together in our head while we're
Yes.
sitting there like this,
Mhm.
so definitely. So I want to definitely talk about the leaders conference. I'm gonna spend a lot of time on this, a nice chunk on the leaders conference, because
Okay.
it was so dope. So you said that you are an author, but and there's two books. You have two books. I think I said one book. So
Mhm.
what are the books again?
All right, so the first book that I published is Southern Tears of Karma, and that's a fiction novel. That was just something to keep my mind
Mhm.
focused on something, and a lot of people loved it. Not to toot my own horn. And then the second book is Smell the Roses While You Endure: 21 Days of Enduring Affirmations. All of my books have long titles, but
Okay.
that book is a personal development book. So it's a guidance for 21 days. There's a spot where, in the book, you can actually, I get a kick out of knowing what people are really doing. A lot of people come to me and say they want X, Y, and Z. And I'll tell them, okay, get the book. Let's go through the book together. And they'll say they read the book. And I always smile because I think it's amazing that they say, oh, I read the book. It was really good. It helped me get to X, Y, and Z.
Mhm.
But in the book, it clearly says in a particular spot, when you get to this section, text to my cell phone number. And it's the same cell phone number I've had for the past, I think, 11 years. So I
Mhm.
know the people who are putting in the work because I get those texts. And it's a specific word you must text me to my personal cell phone. So that book, I just love that. It was something that I wanted to do. Um, I didn't push it as hard as I did Southern Tears of Karma. I had much more fun with Southern Tears of Karma because it allowed for me to be creative.
So what was Southern Tears of Karma about?
It's about a young lady, and everybody thought it was me, but no, it's not. Everything is fiction. It's about a young lady that lives in Georgetown, South Carolina, who grows up wanting everything everyone else has. So she's a very envious young lady. Her grandmother is in her life and have discussions with her, stop always wanting what everyone else have. Her mom is also in her life. Her dad dies the same day she was born, and so she goes through different storms and tribulations to become the woman that she is. She ends up sleeping with her cousin that she grows up with, son father, and then they end up getting married. And it's a whole bunch of twists and turns, but it's a southern belle, you know.
Did you say her cousin's son's father?
Yes,
Okay. You see, I'm
Christopher.
like, okay.
Christopher, because they were all young and they all grew up together as cousins, and they had sleepovers and
Mhm.
all of those great things. And anytime Melissa, that's the main character of the book, anytime she would someone would say something, is the book right here, but
Nice.
anytime someone would say something or say that they were going to do something, she would be the one that go ahead and do it. And I know we all know someone that does that. She would
Mhm.
be the one that hurry up and does it, or you like a boy and she ends up liking him too, but she tells you she don't like him and you shouldn't be with him. And as soon as you close your eyes, she runs around the corner and does it.
I
So
think everybody had a friend like
yes,
that.
yes. And I
Okay.
thought that this was really good because instead of having a friend, she has a family member, which kind of keeps them. You see the dynamic of how all of them still have to remain family, despite because the cousin has a son, and then she gets married and she has a son. So it's all kind of, different twists and turns. It's a lot of drama. And it's
Okay,
good.
so before we move forward, tell everybody how where they can locate those books. We're gonna do it at the end too.
Both my books are on Amazon. So if you search the title of both books or just put in my name, and it's very long, but you just see my name somewhere scrolling. Whenever you see that, just go right on Amazon.
Okay, okay. And we will be right back after this. Okay, so my favorite part that I am excited to talk about is again, ITT is the creator and producer of the Leaders Conference. And so I want to talk about this. I want to talk about the Leaders Conference. First and foremost, it was a dope conference. How do I know? Because I was there. Okay. So on the outside looking in, I'm just gonna give my thoughts, okay? Because the Leaders Conference was March 12th through
13th and 14th.
Okay, the 12th, the 13th, and 14th, March of 2020. Okay,
Mhm.
March of 2020. So I say that because if you think March 2020, you're like, that's pandemic time, or that's kind of like when things were like really hitting the fan in some places, but then in other places it wasn't. Okay, so for me, I'll say me, I'm here in Michigan, and I was excited and honored to be picked as one of the influencers for the Leaders Conference. And it's an amazing opportunity, for you to be able to go out of state and speak on a platform. That's dope. So let's go back to like December when we were hearing about the coronavirus and people were getting sick. And well, I'll say December, maybe it might have been January, when we were told not to worry and they had it all under control. So we didn't worry because they had it all under control. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I want to say, when was this? Was it probably like the end of February? Was it the middle of February or end of February when people kind of started teeter-tottering on if they were going to do things?
For me personally, everything was still going for me in the conference, maybe the first week of February. People were purchasing tickets. I was making a lot of buzz about it. I was making a lot of noise about it. We had Facebook ad campaigns going on. Shouts out to Christopher for doing all of that greatness for me. And everything was, we had vendors, everything was on track. Even though I knew in my head that there was COVID-19, I never had in my mind that it was going to be any kind of, I've never heard social distancing until COVID-19. Maybe about the second week of February, roughly, I started getting worried. Because all you saw on the news, all you saw on Facebook, social media was COVID-19, coronavirus. So I started getting scared. And I'll never forget, I told my mom, I was like, I am scared. I said, I've invested so much money into this amazing venue and I'm scared. And my mom was like, everything's going to be fine, TT. Stop looking for something to worry about. And I was like, okay, well. So as we got closer, the week prior, I started getting real nervous because people were like, are you still having a conference? And it made me nervous because I was still promoting the conference. I was letting them know, you're 7 days away, get your tickets. And at the very last minute, I think that I left this earth and came back several times because no one knew this, but they called me from the actual venue, which was at a technical college. And they said that there are talks about them closing down all of the schools. So I was like, okay, well, what am I going to do? Because I have people flying in. This was 5 days before the conference. I did not tell anyone. The only person I told, well, there were two people, my mom and my husband. And my husband was like, don't worry, just keep going. And even the day of the event, I was nervous. I didn't know if there was going to be anyone there to open up the door to the venue, but it was scary. And again, I did not, when we first started hearing about COVID-19, which was right before Christmas, was the first time I heard about it on CNN. I did not think that we would have been living in a pandemic. I don't think I've even, some of the words or the terms that we use today, right now, presently, I never used before. So it was scary, but I never, there are sometimes I do things because I'm a Virgo and I feel that I can fly all the time. And sometimes I get those intuitions where God says, bring it back in, you don't need to do that. I never once got that feeling with the Leaders Conference. And if anything, though there were some hiccups, it seems like everything was falling in line, in order. It was amazing for me. I was worried. I was worried after the influencers left, because ultimately I felt that if anything happened to them, it would have been my responsibility. The room wasn't as crowded, the auditorium wasn't as crowded, but it was beautiful. The connections, the networks, it was absolutely beautiful. It was like we walked away with a family system that we can text. I'm still amazed that we are still connected now. And each of us have built individual as well as group relationships. So I think it's really amazing.
Mm-hmm. I have to agree with you 100% on everything that you said. And being one of the influencers for the conference and hearing about the pandemic and, coronavirus, okay, hearing about it, I never ever once said, well, I'm not going. Mm-hmm. I never once said I'm not going. Like, I'm excited. Like, I'm getting, I'm preparing, I'm planning, I'm getting all my stuff together. I got to travel with my laptop and, I got my PowerPoint presentation and, I'm getting everything together. And for me, honestly, I don't think it didn't really dawn on me that we were in a pandemic until I probably got on the plane. Mm-hmm. Or probably in the airport. I'll go back to the airport because there were way more people without PPE. Okay, and for those of you who don't know what PPE is, that's personal protection equipment. There were way more people in the airport without it on, and that was going and coming. And you had your people who had gloves on. One of the things that I noticed when flying coming there was you could tell some people reneged on their plane trips because there was a lot of open space on the plane, something that I've never experienced. But every time I'm getting on a plane, it's always been full. So, but there was never, and I say this because there was never any fear flying, going, I had a layover in Atlanta and I had to, be in Atlanta. And I think honestly, there's a video on Facebook, y'all. I sweated out my curls. I didn't even make it to the conference yet. I had to walk from point A to point B in Atlanta airport and sweat out my curls, and I thought I was gonna pass out. But I was more worried about that. I wasn't worried about, like, there was no worry of pandemic, nowhere in there. So I get to South Carolina, and I'm gonna say this. It needed to happen. It was meant to happen. Those who were in the room are the ones that needed to be in the room.
Mm-hmm.
The connections that were made were the connections that were made. And I mean, and we practiced as much and as the best as we could. We did practice social distancing. We didn't do no hugs. We was Wakanda for life hugging on everybody. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing, after it was all said and done, because let's be honest, there was negative talk about the conference still going on, and you always gonna have your naysayers regardless.
Yeah.
And I honestly think that the pandemic was a out for them to do
Mm-hmm.
all of the chatter.
Mm-hmm.
But here's my thing. After it was a 3-day conference. You also have to understand though too that in certain areas of the United States it wasn't hit. So for Michigan was one of the hardest hit places. Where I'm at was one of the hardest hit places. Where South Carolina, when we were down there during that conference, it was not an area that was hit. It was not. If I can recall, there were no cases in South Carolina when we were there.
Yeah, but we hot now.
Right. I'm talking about them. But I'll say this is the best part of it all. The connections that were made, it was great listening to everyone speak. When we left South Carolina and everyone went back to their homes in different states, we had people from Canada, people from Florida, people from Chicago, Michigan, everywhere were there.
Yeah.
The most amazing thing is not one person that attended that conference, whether you were an attendee coming to get fed with all of the information, whether you were an influencer, whether you were security in the building, not one person tested positive for COVID-19. Not one person. Now,
not one.
Of course, in different areas where you're from, when you went back to your place of residence, you might have had to be quarantined for 14 days, because that was just a precaution that needed to happen. But no one got sick.
No one.
Not a one. Not one person. Now, mind you, and then on top of it, you gotta now you was just around all those people. Now you gotta get back on the airplane. And if you're like me, I had layovers coming, and I had a layover coming to going to South Carolina, and I had a layover coming home to Michigan. So I didn't wear a mask. I didn't have on any PPE going or coming. And all the people that we came to encounter with, no one got sick. Was that God? Absolutely. Was the conference things that happened in my mind? Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you have to understand, I am a firm believer that I think God watches out for his children.
Yes.
And that conference, in my opinion, it needed to happen. Those relationships needed to happen. It was just, and I think it was just some amazing things that were birthed from the Leaders Conference in South Carolina.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree.
Yeah. There was some amazing connections. Like it was dope.
Content, everything was beautiful. From the time we got up, you guys stayed at the hotels, so y'all were able to bond. And then coming, it started from the time you woke up to the time you went to bed, because each night I wanted to make sure that we all who wanted to, that we all went out to eat dinner to close out our night. So it was something amazing. I've hosted conferences in the past and other events. This was very special and very different because it was a 3-day conference. So that was a bit more challenging, just looking at everything that was going on in the world. But I'm so glad you mentioned that. Not a person. Everybody is still sound mind, alert. Everybody made it in safely. Everybody returned home safely. I waited for like 6 to 7 days. I was like, if I see COVID-19, I got it. I was like, but nobody. Everybody, if anything, everybody started working great. Huh?
You actually threatened us.
Yeah, you're right. But it was with love. It was with love. But everybody, everybody was returned home. We still kept in contact. Yes. We were actually really in stronger contact than, because everybody was in sort of a disarray. Once I got that last influencer back to Columbia Airport, I knew something was wrong because there was nothing out there. There was no people waiting outside. I've been to that airport numerous times, and you're in traffic, you're bumper to bumper. It was nothing out there. And so that Sunday, everybody returned back to their, home around Sunday and Monday. That Tuesday, we found out, okay, we don't have no more school for our children. So it was just one thing after the other. And it was like, wow, all of this happened at the nick of time, and it was divine connections and relationships. Like, I don't even take no credit for that. And I love to toot my own horn. I don't take no credit for that. I know 100% that was all God's doing, God's will. We don't know what people personally came with, because we, as leaders, you always have some type of baggage. It can be positive baggage or negative baggage. Either way, because we're humans. Okay. People think that if you're a motivational speaker or author, your life is perfect. No, we get sometimes twice as much because people have these expectations of us. But everybody came with something, and everybody was able to leave with something. Absolutely. And that's the most important thing about anything that you do. You can walk in that door with sadness, and you may leave out that same door with sadness. But when you're around me, I want you to leave out that door equipped with napkins because of that sadness. Because you crying, I want you to have your resources. And that's what people left with. Everybody, from the influencer to the security guard of the venue, he came to me and he was like, this was so amazing. And I was like, okay, you're supposed to be securing. But I saw him several times sitting down, listening. Everybody walked away with something. Young, old, African-American, Caucasian, woman, male, it didn't matter. Men, everybody walked away with something.
And for me, I'm gonna tell you, I made 2 best friends in South Carolina. I have 2 South Carolina besties. I came with product, and let me tell you, everything that I came with, South Carolina bought it up. I didn't come back home with nothing. Okay. And so that was like, whoa. Then we made international connection with all of that going on. I still had a roommate, y'all, that I never met my roommate until we got to South Carolina. My roommate was from Canada, Ontario, Canada. And we were roommates that whole weekend. And like, we didn't know each other. People thought we knew each other prior to the conference.
Nobody knew nobody.
Nobody knew nobody. Yeah, nobody knew anybody. So it was just it was amazing. It was a wonderful conference. I am looking forward to the Leaders Conference 2021. 2021.
A minute.
2021.
Yeah. I have to think about it.
Wrong at first. I'm like 20. Yeah, we in 2020.
Yeah.
That's next year. That's next year.
I'm excited. That's going to be down in Myrtle Beach.
Yes.
What I've already have planned, and I'm not even out of 2020 yet, but what I already have planned is going to be bananas. Like, this is something we don't really have here in South Carolina, especially because South Carolina is a rural state. So, we're known for other things other than personal development and growth. It's starting to pick up, but, I wanted to be that change agent. And I believe that we don't always have to go to Florida or Georgia or New York or California or Texas for a conference. I wanted to create something here and put my stamp on it. And then I didn't want it to be all about me. If I speak at my own conference, fine. If I don't, still fine. Yeah. But I wanted to always have.
You were a great host of the conference.
Well, thank you.
Great host.
I always want to make sure that it's a platform for other individuals. I started the conference because it felt like I had to look a certain way, walk a certain way, wear certain type brands, not with everyone, but with other platforms that I really wanted to be a part of. And, I don't feel that when I'm giving someone the tools that they need to be a better version of themselves, I mean, I'm going to look presentable, but I don't feel that I have to go through all these different hoops and jumps to do those things. And I think that we make people believe that we're so perfect, and that's why people walk away feeling good for 24 hours. But then what happened on the 72nd hour? With my conference, you're going to come, you're going to remember something. You're going to remember something funny. You're going to remember me being loud. You're going to remember this person, that person. And I love personalities. And when I ask people to come and speak, I'm asking them to come and speak because I feel some type of way about them on their phone. I stalk everybody. I go through their Facebook, LinkedIn, I stalk everybody. But I want people to come and let this, people are still talking about the Leaders Conference. People are still inboxing me, telling me, okay, I'm gonna be publishing my book in 2 weeks because of the Leaders Conference. I'm starting my business, I'm getting my LLC. Like, they're not putting it all over, but they're letting me know personally, because of the Leaders Conference, they're positioning themselves to do their best living. That's what it is all about. And we want to treat, people came to the Leaders Conference and they just, people tell me that they're proud of me. I'm proud of the connections that I made. I'm proud that I can text Angelita, I can text Trisetta, I can whatever, send an email, and they're still here. You don't find too many platforms where you can go and get that and still remain connected. And we all want each other to win. We share resources. We just check on one another, and that's what Angelita teaches. Number one, networking. And that's something that I've always struggled with. I can host an event, but I wouldn't even take the time to sit down and really understand what someone has to offer so that we can mesh. And so I learned that through Angelita.
Oh, thank you, girl.
So hats off to you.
Thank you, girl. So listen, so with all of this amazingness that happened at the Leaders Conference, one things, like, I mean, there was so much amazingness that happened at the Leaders Conference. But you got to tell us about I don't want to say the end result of this year's Leaders Conference, but that one thing that we got going on right now with some of the leaders that was at the conference.
So the greatest thing about not only just the connections and the family relationship that we now have, and the concern that we have outside of business, like, we genuinely are concerned about one another and have built a strong relationship. You would think that we've been together for years, many of us, and that we got together and we were able to produce and birth an anthology. We are working up and wrapping up everything right now as we speak. We've already started with pre-orders, and it's such a great thing because the Leaders Conference was in March, but look what we're going to be birthing close towards the end of July. We're bringing, it's still continuous. We're still offering resources, even though the conference was back in March. And we just got together. Everyone said yes, and we birthed this. This is something that's going to be here forever. It has each and every last one of our names on it. No one is bigger or less than on the book. I wanted to make sure it was something sleek, cut, and dry. So that's why I said I didn't want my picture on there. I didn't want just TT name all over the book. I made sure that all of us are influencers, and that's how that book is presented. And each of us are sharing our expertise. So you can get anything from how to network, business management, personal development. We have a social worker. We got everything. One person suffered through cancer, another person speaking about finances, someone suffered with depression, someone suffered with child molestation. Everything this book covers. It's almost like Get Your Best Life Bible. And if you want whatever you want, you might don't need my story, but Angelita's story may resonate with you. You might don't need Angelita's story, but Ben's story might resonate with you. You might don't need Ben's story. You might be struggling and went through some type of whatever. And Gwen's story may, better represent what you're going through. Either way, this book is amazing. And what I've been telling people, I don't want this book to be perfect. They were, people say, okay, you need to change this, you need to add that. No, we keep doing perfect, and perfect doesn't get us anywhere. Yeah. I wanted this book to be raw. I want it to be understandable, but I want you to feel it. I want you to feel what Angelita is trying to tell you. So you don't always have to use, well, the version of the psychological, you don't always have to use that. Sometimes you got to say, listen, I was going through this and it hurt. It felt like a blister, something like that, so that people can feel it. So I'm excited about it.
I am too. So the book is called
Fortitude.
Anthology of Overcomers. And you can, guess what, y'all? Pre-order right now. You can pre-order right now. So you can go to, you give out the site if they want to pre-order.
www.extremeott.com.
And I am definitely going to have this information up on the Real Talk Facebook page, so you guys will know where you can go and get your copy of Fortitude. And here's the thing: you may want to get your copy during pre-order for Fortitude, because after the pre-orders, the price is going to go up. So you may want to go ahead and jump on and get your book before the pre-orders end. So the conference was amazing. It was amazing. But one of the things too that I also want everyone to know is, not only do you have Endure the Extreme, nonprofit and for-profit business, not only are you the creator and producer of the Leaders Conference, but you are also a coach. So you also help people get their life together. Let's get it together. And that's like from your own experiences, again, going back with depression and low self-esteem and different things like that. So with your coaching, you kind of go over like personal growth, even talk about entrepreneurship, as well as kind of like, okay, you got to change your mindset, you got to change your thinking to get you to the next step. So tell us a little bit about your services too.
Well, my services, I've recently actually changed a great deal of it, because I want to be more of a service. And if I ask my clients to shift their mindset to think bigger, then I must do the same too as the leader. And that's something I haven't done, to be honest. So recently I have thought about so many different avenues as far as helping people in a more e-learning base, because that's where we're going to after this pandemic, or whenever it decides to be over. Coronavirus! But we're going to be doing the e-learning a lot more. It's a platform where a lot of people are going to be home. A lot of people are going to be working from home, and there's not one person that's working their full 8 hours from home. You have to manage, especially if you have a family. It's different for many of us. Yeah, me too. But one of the things that I notice is that managing for people that have never been accustomed from working from home, it's been a challenge. And many of us turned into working from home, working our entrepreneur business at home, becoming a stay-at-home mom, becoming a school teacher, homeschooling. So this has been something different for each and every last one of us. But I think that it's so many great things that we can do. And I want to be that driving force for individuals. I want people to stop believing that they can't when they can. I want people to stop chasing behind people that they think needs to be their team and join the winning team. I'm tired of people saying that, year after year is going to be their best year. And then December, I'm seeing them post on Facebook, next year is going to be my year because this year wasn't. No, every morning you get up is your time. Will you have some salty days? We all going to have salty days, but you have to have the mindset to keep going. So that's the kind of stuff that I teach individuals. And as I shifted with the pandemic, a lot of things in my business shifted as well. But in a nutshell, I teach people how to go about increasing in the level of elevation, increasing in the level of success that they desire, and how to stop saying dreaming, and how to stop saying it's going to be harvest time. Every morning you get up is harvest time. There's something you can grab off your tree that's going to help you go to the next level. So I teach people how to do that.
Hey, ITT. Oh, I love it. I love it. See, now this is what, so just so y'all know, this is what we do. It could be, because not all the time her TT and I talk, but it could be quick me on social media, a text. I don't have to say much. She don't have to say much, but there's definitely lots of laughter in our messaging,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
For
Yes,
sure. So yes, it is. So we are definitely wrapping up. We are coming up to our hour. I always tell my guests that, oh, we're only going to be on for about 30 to 45 minutes. It never works that way. It always goes over, but that's how you know, hey, we got a lot of information to give you. And you know, when the conversation is going, the conversation is just going. The good is good. So I want you to let everyone know how they can connect with you on social media, as well as your website. So if they want to possibly come for books, for coaching, like TT has a lot of just a wealth of info. Let them know about the group, all types of stuff. So take it away.
Well, you can connect with me personally on my website, extremeott.com. I have a small community of leaders, which is called the Leaders Community. And also, wherever you see OTITI, that is she. So I am pretty much open to connecting with anybody. You know, there's some people that they get to the very top and you got to go through their assistant. I love people, even though I am an introvert, but you can connect with me on any one of those platforms, and myself or somebody from my team, but 90% of the time is me that's going to contact you back personally.
Thank you so much, TT, for coming on Real Talk and talking with me for episode 27, Leaders Are Made, Not Born. So you see, there's leader like all over her. What's that?
You said 27, episode 27.
Oh, I'm like, see, you know I'm slow. Look, Virgos are a little slow at times too. I'm like, what? Yes, episode 27, Leaders Are Made, Not Born. Otiti Uwagbai Wright is definitely a leader, okay? In her own right. She's definitely doing things.
You
So
are
thank
too. That's
you.
why we connected. You are
Yes,
too.
girl.
Leaders flock together.
Definitely. So make sure you guys go and connect with her on social media and her website. You guys can always connect with me on Instagram and Facebook at Angelita the Coach. You can also connect with me on my website at www.coachangelita.com. If you are interested in being a guest on Real Talk Podcast, if you would like to advertise or sponsor us, you can also get that information on the website. Thank you for tuning in. That's my time, and I will see you guys next week.